Alright mate, how you doing and welcome back to another video. Today I want to do something a little bit different. A while ago on another channel I made a video called my top 5 favourite footballers and it went down really well for the people that watched it back then, and I thought I wanted to sort of improve that and do my dream 11, my dream team of all time. And they're not necessarily the best 11 players that I've ever seen or witnessed or loved to watch, they're just the 11 that means the most to me. Everyone's dream team would be different, but this is mine. I'm going to share it with you now. And just to remind you guys, this video is sponsored by the Fantasy Football Exchange, and at the end I've got a little treat for you. You can get yourself a little bonus on the Fantasy Football website if you're interested. Make sure you watch to the end to find out what that is. Okay, so starting off, you can see I've got a 3-4-1-2 formation in my all-time fantasy 11, right? Got to start off with the goalkeeper. This is his name. It's Ludek McCloskey. Now, obviously, he's not the biggest, most well-known goalkeeper of all time. In fact, if you're not a West Ham fan, you probably never heard of him. He's from the Czech Republic. He was in goal for us for pretty much most of the 90s, to be honest. He was famous because he used to drive a little Skoda around, and he was just a bit of a legend. He was a servant to the club. He then went and worked for the club as a coach. So around the West Ham, stadium and club, he's just known to be an absolute hero. Did some wonderful things in goal. Played in our team for a long time. Not the best keeper ever, but decent. He was decent. He's going in as my favourite goalkeeper. Obviously, he's not got a legend card in FIFA 15. I've made it look like he has. He's not going to get one anytime soon, but you never know. We can only dream. Let's go to the defence. First defender in my back three is none other than another West Ham legend, Julian Dix. This guy was one of the toughest tackling defenders of all time. He had a left boot that was more powerful than a steam train. Some of his penalties literally took the face off the goalkeepers. They had no face when the ball hit them. They just were faceless. He hit the ball so hard, and he had a little bit of a rough streak. He used to get a lot of red cards. That was the reason they said he never got to play for the England team. He played for the under-21s, he played for the B team, but he never made a first team appearance because he was a bit of a naughty boy. He was a naughty boy, but a great player. Played for Liverpool as well as West Ham, and just a hero. He also, after retiring from football, tried to become a professional golfer. Then he became a karate instructor. I actually went to the Julian Dix karate school where I'm from in Essex, and now he's the coach of the West Ham ladies team. Julian Dix, I salute you. Next up, the central centre-back in this back three, an absolute legend, is Bobby Moore. We won the World Cup. We won the World Cup. Not England, West Ham. You know this story. 3 of the England team that won the World Cup played for West Ham. Bobby Moore, the captain. Jeff Hurst, still the only person to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final. And Martin Peters. So I had to put Bobby Moore in there. This is actually an improved version of Bobby Moore. I gave him better stats than the game gave him on his real legend card because I felt his defence wasn't good enough. I've given him 97 for defence because that's what he deserves. Have you seen his legendary tackle on Jarzinho in the 1970 World Cup? Oh my word, timed to perfection. Now, Bobby Moore didn't play during my lifetime. In fact, he died when I was quite young. But being a West Ham fan and an England fan, it's impossible not to recognise this guy's contribution. So he's in there. He's a captain. The final defender is another ex-West Ham boy, and I know it's quite West Ham heavy at the moment, but that will change shortly. But this guy had to be in there. It's Steve Potts. Not a household name, not the best defender of all time. He just played a lot of games for West Ham when I was growing up. He was always in the team. He was from the United States of America. His son now plays in the West Ham under-21s team, Dan Potts. He hasn't played a lot of times for West Ham yet, but he could come through eventually, I don't know. So Steve Potts is in there, completing a back three and a goalkeeper that all played for West Ham. However, the rest of the team has got some very different players. Starting off with a centre mid, I'm pretty sure none of you are going to have a problem with this guy's inclusion. It's Zinedine Zidane. One of the best players of all time, not just in my lifetime. I remember seeing him score 2 goals in the World Cup final in 1998. His Champions League final goal, left foot volley against Leverkusen. Oh my God. One of the best strikes I've ever seen, I've ever witnessed. This guy was so good, so graceful, a pleasure to watch. He had to be in there. Centre mid, it's Zizou. And next to him, a very different type of player, but very talented nonetheless, Edgar Davids of Holland. Famous for his special glasses he used to wear. He suffered from glaucoma, which meant he needed them to see the game properly. Tough tackling centre mid. He could strike them. He could hit them hard from outside the box. And I just used to love watching this guy. I love watching people that had a little bit of a special thing about them. And obviously his glasses and his hair. And he was just a bit of a lad. And I liked Edgar Davids. And he did come over to England eventually, played a little bit for Spurs towards the end of his career, went down to Barnet, became the manager at Barnet. But when he was playing for Juventus and Holland in his prime, he was a lad. Moving over to the left midfield now, Stevie Mcmanaman. What a hero. One of the most versatile midfielders England have had in recent years. I've got him in left mid for formational reasons, you'll see with the other people we've got coming up. But he could play left mid, centre mid, right mid, attacking mid, even up front he'll do you a job. You know, he played for Liverpool in the heart of his career, but he did go to Real Madrid. In fact, he is the only Englishman on the Real Madrid Hall of Fame. He also scored in the Champions League final. I used to love Stevie McManaman. I used to pretend I was him when I was playing in the park. McManaman! Bang! I love him. Stevie McManaman, you're in the team. Good man. Moving over to the right mid spot now, and this is another player that I never got to see in my lifetime, but I remember reading about him, finding out about him, and just being fascinated by his story. It's Garrincha. Now, a lot of Brazilians still say that he was the best Brazilian footballer of all time, better than Pelé. He was kind of like the people's player. He came from a really rough background. He had a bit of a disorder where he was born. He had sort of crooked legs, which went in at the knees, which made him have quite a weird and awkward looking running gait, but it also meant he was impossible to predict. His step-overs were like additionally crazy. The defenders looked at them, they got confused, bang, he was past them, crossed it in, Pelé put it in, or he scored himself. He was a very fast, skillful right winger, one of the best dribblers of all times. I read about him in a book called Futebol, about the Brazilian football when I was younger, and I was just fascinated by him. He had to be in my team. In fact, I've got a Brazilian shirt with his name on the back. Here you go, bang, Garrincha, what a lad, you're in the team, son. Moving on to the cam spot now, this is another player I used to love pretending to be when I was kicking a ball around with my mates. It's Alessandro Del Piero, one of Juventus' longest serving players, an absolute hero, tricky, could score goals from anywhere. He played in Serie A for years and years and years before he moved to the A-League in Australia. I used to love him. I don't know what it was about him, but he was so just skillful and beautiful to watch, and he could just do anything on his own time. You know, he just slowed the game down, bang it, Del Piero, loved him. And now my two strikers. Now the first one is actually a player who a lot of you might not have heard of, you know. I have literally, don't think I've ever seen him play in real life, ever. This is purely off computer games, I've put him in there. Playing my first ever FIFA game, probably FIFA 98 or 97 with my brother. I've talked about this before when he used to use the keyboard on the PC and I had to use the mouse. It was really hard to play because you only had two buttons to choose from, like shoot and pass, and it was just awkward. But there was one player that used to always come up trumps for me. He'd score goals for fun. His name was Patrice Loco, Frenchman, playing for PSG. I scored so many goals against my brother with this guy. I loved him, and there was no way I couldn't have him in my dream team. Patrice Loco, I love ya. Call me. And my final player, well, we're going to end this team how we started it with a West Ham legend. It's Paolo Di Canio. Paolo Di Canio. This guy might have a few questionable character traits, but on the pitch, what a hero. It's not just scoring a fair amount of goals for West Ham, but scoring quality goals. Yes, he was an eccentric. Yes, he pushed the ref over. Yes, he has some political beliefs which, you know, don't need any airtime. However, when he hit the ball hard and true, it went in. Have you seen his goal in 1999 he scored when Trevor Sinclair put the ball in the box against Wimbledon? He does a little bicycle kick, bang. Oh my God, one of the best goals, if not the best goal in Premier League history. He scored a corker of a goal against Chelsea on the volley. I just love this guy. On the pitch, he's just an eccentric. I remember one time when he had an opportunity to score, I think it was in the FA Cup against Everton for West Ham, and their keeper was down injured. So he picked up the ball and just gave it to the ref and just said, yeah, no, he's injured, let's stop the play. And Harry Redknapp was sitting there as our manager going, what are you doing, mate? And he was like, yeah, he is injured. It's just, he's crazy. He's crazy. But no doubt, super talented, a pleasure to watch. He had to be in my dream team. And that's my team. And I know a lot of you might not agree with it. You might have a completely different Dream 11, and that's fine, because it's an individual thing that is unique to each person's tastes, history, you know, what they can remember in their own football life. So by all means, leave a comment below. Let me know who'd be in your Dream 11 and why. Give me a reason. It might not be the best player you've ever seen or the most talented player you can think of, but someone that just resonated in your brain as someone you used to just love and appreciate in the world of football. Now, before we go, we do need to talk about Fantasy Football Exchange, the sponsors of this video, and they've actually offered you a really good deal. I said to them, like, what can I do to give the viewers, you know, to get them excited about the Fantasy Football Exchange? And they've started a new deal where if you deposit £10 into your account on FFE before this next game week starts, which is I think Saturday, it's this week coming up, the information's on the website, they'll match it. They'll give you another £10 to spend. All the information, the terms and conditions are in the description below. But it basically means you can get some free money. So make sure you check that offer out by clicking the link in the description. And before we go, let me show you my team on Fantasy Football Exchange for this week's Premier League games. Starting off, I've gone with Foster in goal, the West Brom keeper. I've got a feeling they're going to do okay at home against Stoke. Hopefully a clean sheet for him. I've gone with a three-man defence, as I usually tend to. Terry, Lescott and Koscielny. They're all playing at home, all capable of keeping a clean sheet, hopefully getting me some points. In midfield, we've got Hazard, Silva, Puncheon and Henderson. Henderson can't stop scoring right now and he's not that expensive. We all know what Hazard and Silva can do. Puncheon's been in good form. He got 3 assists against West Ham when we played them, so hopefully he can get some more points this week. That could be a good midfield for me. And up front, we've got Aguero, who's our captain, Lukaku and Giroud. All born goal scorers. I'm hoping they can add to their tally this weekend. So that's my team. Let me know what your team's going to be on FFE this week, again in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please drop it a like. I want to know what your all-time fantasy football 11 would be. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you next time. And of course, don't go changing. Bye-bye.